Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is one of the best games of all time, and it's the best game I've played in the last 4 years. Now this review is going to be a little bit different than most. I'm not someone who played this game 10 times, found all the hidden gems and secrets that the game has to offer. I didn't fight every boss and discover everywhere on the map. I played this game one time, and I know for a fact from doing research for this review, I missed at least 3 main bosses and a ton of mini bosses. Now, knowing I missed that much extra gameplay and still left this game feeling like it was a top 3 game of all time should really start to show you how amazing this game truly is. Now, I'm not going to sit here through one playthrough and pretend like I know the whole story and every NPC's background and why they are, where they are, what they are, but what I do know is how the gameplay felt. I know how the boss battles had to make you strategize and think before you started fighting. And those are feelings that I want to share with you. So the way this review is going to happen is I'm going to start off by explaining the start of the game, and it'll be a quick summary of why you're doing the things that you want to do. And then I will talk about the bosses that I fought through my playthrough, and we will discuss the things I like and dislike. Finally, we will end this video with a summary of what this game did and why I think it's a top 3 game. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Like I said a couple times already, this video is not about the story of this game. There are far better content creators out there who have already put masterpiece videos together that go in-depth detail about the story of this game. And if you're interested in that kind of content, I will do what I can for those creators by linking a couple videos in the description. But for the purpose of this video, the quick summary of the story is you are a shinobi who was trained by your father. A shinobi is kind of like a modern bodyguard. You are assigned a master and you protect that master for your entire life. And the only code that shinobis live by is rule number 1, your father's word is absolute. And rule number 2, your master's is second. There's a moment in the game very early on where it describes to you that you lost your father and your master, and the game starts with you at the bottom of a pit where this mysterious letter gets dropped to you that says your master is still alive and he's being held captive. So that's how the game starts. Now, for the first several hours of this game, it does a really good job at showing but not telling you where to go. And if you just follow the flow of the game, you'll move the story along and you'll go to the right places. And within these first couple hours, you will no doubtably reach the most challenging part of this game up until this point, and that is the Chained Ogre. Now, the Chained Ogre is not the first boss you fight, but I wanted to start with him because you do fight him pretty early on, and he feels so overpowered, and he gets in your face and deals so much damage that your first playthrough, this will be the first boss that you start to question if this game is going to be worth it. Now, I've seen videos of people who beat this Chained Ogre on their first try. I've seen videos of people that took them hours to beat it. I definitely land on the former. It took me so long to beat this guy that, like I said, it was the first time in the game that I started to question if this game was going to be worth playing and practicing to get better at. But once you do finally beat him, it is the most enjoyable feeling. And the rush of endorphins you get as a player, I mean, just watch this video. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, you stupid fucking ogre. God, it felt good to kill your ass. Now, after you made it through the Chained Ogre and you didn't break your keyboard and mouse or controller, good job. Because right after that, you'll make your way to the castle gates, right? Now, this is the gate of the castle where you're going to walk on in. But before you walk in, you have the craziest intro to a boss I have ever seen. As I breathe, you will not pass the castle gate! Move in haste and die, brat! Now this clearly theater kid's name is Gyubu, and he is the first main boss that you'll encounter of the game. Now, I should probably take this time to explain to you the difference between a mini boss and a main boss. Alright, so here's the deal. You got your big bosses, you got your little bosses. what's the difference? It's clearly not size, because if I haven't, I'm about to tell you about how size doesn't matter in this game. So there has to be a difference, right? Okay, so your big bosses are like your main storyline bosses, all right? These are typically the more challenging bosses, the harder to fight, but they also have one key element. These bosses do not allow you to escape. When you fight the little bosses, like put insert little boss here, you can run away. So if the fight goes south or you're not doing so well, you want to just be a bitch and run away, you can just you can run away. However, with big boss over here, with bosses that drive the storyline, when you fight them, they're typically like, yo, here's a magical smoke ray. You can't go, you can't run away. You got to kill me or I kill you. It's really interesting. And that's it. Okay, bye. Now, Gyubu is a massive boss. He's a huge stature of a man on a huge horse. However, if you've played a FromSoft game, you realize that size does not matter. It really all comes down to skill and mechanics. And Gyubu's biggest advantage, his size and massive strength, is also his biggest weakness. He's pretty easy. You just have to get close to him underneath his horse, attack the legs, make him get stunned, and boom. I think it took me 2 tries to beat him. But after you beat him, the castle is open and you make your way in. However, upon making your way through the castle gate, one of the very first things you will run into, or should I say will run into you, is a blazing bull. Holy shit. Oh! Much like the chained ogre before, the blazing bull is a boss that you have no idea what to do. With Gyubu, it was pretty simple. You could see he was a massive man and attacked you, so you just have to get close so he'll miss your attacks. But with a giant bull who's on fire running at you and constantly charging at you, trying to hit you, you really have no idea what to do. So you will struggle with him. But in the same way that once you finally beat the chained ogre, you had an orgasm amount of endorphins running through your body, the same thing happens with the bull. Stupid fucking bull, you stupid! Now, I forgot about this next boss till just now reading the script to record, and I wish I never had to remember him, because the next boss I fought's name was the Lone Shadow's Longswordman. Now, this guy's not a bad boss. In fact, he's kind of fun when the boss battle works. Now, the reason it doesn't work has absolutely nothing to do with the boss set's moves or the mechanics about the game. It has to do with the arena being the size of a very small child's closet, and there's no room. The camera never locks on properly. His attacks go through walls seemingly, and I hate to say it, I really do, but the only way you beat this guy, or at least make the fight fair, is if you cheese him. So after I killed Longsword McCheesy Camera Sucks Doesn't Work, I made my way through the rest of the area and I came across this person whose name was Snake Eyes. Now, these are the first people in the game who have literal guns and shoot at you. Now, projectiles are not something that's new to this game so far. People have been throwing little swords at you and rocks at you if you're hanging on trees and stuff like that. But these are actual guns. And this boss is beyond overpowered. Now, good old Snake Eyes here is the first boss that I encountered who would literally kill you in one hit. Now, granted, it's a combo, but still, there's no way, at least I couldn't find a way to get out of the attack where they hit you with their sword and then pull you in and shoot you. It was very annoying. And after dying about 5 times, I really buckled down. I sat up in my chair, I got as close as possible to my screen, and I died a 6th time. So I logged off and played Dead by Daylight the rest of the day. And upon coming back to the game the next day, I realized that the whole area was surrounded by poison. So all I had to do was trick Snake Eyes into walking into the poison, get infected, and 45 minutes later of doing absolutely nothing but hiding, Snake Eyes died and I collected my reward. Wait a second. Oh my God, look. Look at the health. I think that thing got poisoned. Now, at this point, I should probably explain to you who the sculptor is and what the dilapidated temple is. Now, the sculptor is someone who, when you get your arm cut off really early on in the game, yeah, spoiler alert if I forgot to mention that, he fixes your arm with a prosthetic, which serves as like a grappling hook, and it has a bunch of other abilities that you can find and upgrade throughout the game. It's also the place where Emma is, who's the doctor on site who helps you with your healing abilities and adds more health and things like that to your inventory. And it's also a place where you can time travel. See, your arm getting cut off, a prosthetic, a doctor, time travel. I told you I wasn't going to explain the story because there's far better people out there, like I said. However, you do time travel 3 years in the past to be exact, and you come across this burning city. Now, there are a ton of minions that you fight in this area, and they do, at the time of you going here, so much damage. It is incredibly shocking. Up until this point, I think these were the minions that did the most damage to me. However, there's a couple main story plot lines here, but that's not really the reason I want to talk about this area. The main reason I want to talk about this area is Lady Butterfly is here. And Lady Butterfly, for me, was the very click moment of this game. Now, what is a click moment in games like this? Well, you should probably have a good understanding of what that is if you've played these games before. But if you haven't, allow me to explain. Now, the click moment is in reference to the game and the player's connection. And what I refer to as that is it's when the game clicks for you. It's when you get all of a sudden this enormous amount of confidence and the ability to beat every boss and fight everybody, and you stop trying to sneak around or hide from a boss. Instead, you run directly at them because you're better than them and you can beat them. I call it a click because it really does feel like a moment in the game where it all just clicks. And for me, it was Lady Butterfly, but I can't think of a single developer or game out there that does a better job at this than FromSoft. The only other FromSoft game that I've really played is Bloodborne, and I played it upon release, and I still remember the moment that that game clicked for me. It was fighting Father Gioblo, whatever his name is, inside the cemetery. From that moment on, it clicked. I was hooked. I could beat every boss, and I was ready to fight. So that's what the click moment means. All right, we've reached a sad point in this video because unfortunately, for the next 11 or so hours of gameplay, the videos got corrupted and I had to delete them. So I don't have footage of a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about here. However, I will do my best to summarize this part, and I will use video footage that I find from YouTube videos and things around the internet. However, this part of the video, I wanted to talk about gimmick bosses. Now, if you've played FromSoftware games before, you'll know that most always there are gimmick bosses. Bosses that aren't as cut out simple as any other boss up until here. Perhaps there's a boss that has a giant tin of armor that you can't cut through, and the only way to beat him is if you kick him off a bridge. Side note, this guy has one of the coolest backstories I've ever heard, and he, for what feels like a little boss for a second, has a really in-depth story. So I really recommend after watching this video, you go look into fighting him. However, outside of that type of boss, there's another boss who swings really fast, and all you have to do is block his shots until he tires himself out, and then you can kill him. But if I'm talking about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I cannot, and I mean cannot, talk about gimmick bosses without addressing the 3 monkeys in the room. So, spoiler alert, this is actually my least favorite, and you'll find this boss battle really low on everyone's ranking. This is just a glorified game of hide and seek. All you do is run around, find 3 monkeys, and kill them. One last thing I want to talk about with this area is that the fight takes place in a sort of limbo place called the Hall of Illusions. And from watching other videos and how people do reviews for this channel, they really seem to dislike this guy. This is the only NPC in the area, and he has a little bit of dialogue, but for the most part, people dislike him because they say he adds nothing to the game. However, this could probably be me overanalyzing or thinking a little bit too deep into this game, but this is my favorite NPC in the entire game, and I want to explain why. People typically say they dislike this guy because he has no side quests, he has really short dialogue, and he doesn't even help you. He just tells you a little bit about the monkeys. However, I think this is the best case of writing in this game because, like I said, This whole area takes place in a place called the Hall of Illusions, and it's like a heavenly paradise, super quiet place. And this guy even describes it as his personal nirvana. And when you speak to him, he doesn't want to help you because he doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to be there and relax and be himself. So I really felt like this character was so well put, because a lot of times you'll run into NPCs that if you talk to them long enough, they'll ask to help you, or you'll ask to help them, or something in between. But this character was really good at just not caring. He found a little piece of heaven, a little piece where he was happy to just be relaxed in himself, and he just never wanted to leave. I loved this guy. So after you defeat the three monkeys, you're transported to this area, and it just kind of progresses the story. However, there is one part of the story we have to talk about. Now, this is the dragon heritage and the blood of the dragon. So this guy, your master, the little kid who you're here to protect, he's kind of a big deal because he, well, can't die. And he gave you his blood, and now, well, you can't die. That's where the whole shadows die twice thing comes from. Anyway, your father is there, who, by the way, at this point in the game, you thought was dead. And a cutscene shows him trying to get the blood from the dragon. He's telling him that he will protect him as long as he gives him the blood. And the kid's like, nah, that's kind of sketchy. So then your father's like, we must forcefully take it. Essentially, he's like, we must forcefully take it. So at this point in the game, you are given the option. Remember the iron code. You can either listen to your father's word or listen to your master's word. Now, me personally, I played this entire game not knowing that my father was alive. I didn't even think he was around. I was like, yo, you gone. I'm moving on. All I care about is my master. So I decided to stick with my master and go against my father's wishes. And let me talk to you about this fight. Oh. There is no other fight in this game that feels so good and as smooth as this fight. It does a spectacular job. If I were to describe the perfect fight in this game, it would be this boss battle. Now, it is hard. It is really, really hard, and it will take you a long time. It took me several hours to fight him. However, at this point in the game, I knew that that was the formula that it took. I knew that it was not going to be a 1, 2, 3 tries and I beat him. So you have to take the time to learn his moveset, to learn his tells and his techniques. But this fight is, it is so perfect. Now, fighting your father is the perfect ending to this game. However, unless you're my wife, who knows absolutely nothing about this video game, but is showing support by watching this video, or you've never seen anyone play this game, this is in fact not the ending of the game, and there's still quite a bit left. However, there's just a few more things I want to talk about. Come on! Now, there's one specific boss left that I want to talk about. If you look up Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, it won't take you long to find someone saying that the best thing about this game is the combat. And that is true. However, on mouse and keyboard, which is what I played on, it's an enjoyable experience, but it's not really the main reason that I kept playing this game. It wasn't because I could click my right mouse button faster to deflect it, or it's because I could jump over somebody. It's because it felt like I was much more in control of my character. I wasn't sitting back on my couch with a controller. I was sitting close to my monitor with my hand on my mouse and keyboard, and it felt like I was Sekiro. And no statement is more true for keyboard and mouse players than what I'm about to say. If you're on mouse and keyboard, no boss feels greater to fight than the Divine Dragon. So up until this point, your boss battles have been one of two categories. They have been the all-out aggression, or they've been all-out defense. There's really been, with the exception of a couple gimmick bosses, no difference in how you fight bosses in this game. However, there is one boss above all, and if I'm being honest, this boss is the main reason to write and edit and do this entire video, is to just spend these next few minutes talking to you about the best 10 minutes of video games I have ever played. The Divine Dragon is the best 10 minutes of any video game ever. It does not feel like a boss battle. It does not feel like a fight. It truly feels like a dance, and it doesn't even feel like you're playing a video game. It feels like you are taking part in a spectacular cinematic masterpiece. I can't understate how shocked I was to play this game and have something like this in it. It is truly the main reason for making this video. I will forever rank this amongst my top experiences in a video game. But I want to talk a little bit about why I feel like people misunderstand this boss battle and why I think a lot of people put this boss battle at the lower tier or at least mid tier of their ranks, but very few people have it at the top. And I'd like to explain why. Now, we've spent time talking about the bosses and the encounters I have with them, but I haven't spent much time telling you that there's different stages of each boss. Now, part of that is because I would imagine if you're watching this video, you know a little bit about FromSoft, or you've played Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and you understand that boss battles have different phases. But for a lot of people who don't know, if you're watching, a different phase means you fight a boss till you get rid of their health bar, but then they maybe transform or they gain a new power or become something different entirely, and you have to fight them again. And these are different phases. Now, with the Divine Dragon, there are two phases. The first phase, he will summon these trees or these roots to attack you. And these roots that attack you are incredibly easy to kill. And a lot of people put a negative review on this boss battle because of this part. They usually say everything's perfect except for the first phase. Now, much like the NPC in the Hall of Illusion, I could be missing the mark completely. But I think this phase was meant incredibly easy for a reason. You've gone to the Divine Realm. You've gone where no one else could. The things that you had to do to get here were outstandingly hard. You had to fight so many bosses. You had to get through so many enemies just to get here. This is not a place that was heavily guarded. This is not a place that they put these giant soldiers. This is just a divine dragon who is guarding a tree. And that's it. There's no defense mechanism, so the tree and the dragon are doing everything they can, but they're not meant to be these hard, unstoppable defenses. And that's why I think this boss battle is much more of a cinematic experience. It's not hard. You'll beat it on your first 2 tries, and at first you'll leave thinking, oh, it's a pretty easy boss. But when you take a step back and realize that you're not supposed to be here, so this boss is not supposed to be hard, it truly makes it that much better. And after thinking about that, I almost feel bad for this boss battle. But again, I could be completely missing the mark. Let me know if I am down in the comments. Please be dead. The reason you're fighting the Divine Dragon is to gather their tears, because that's the final element that you need to finish the main story of this game. So you get those tears, you come back to reality, and you're ready to fight the final boss. And I will only speak very briefly, and I mean very briefly, on these final bosses. I started this video by saying Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is one of the best games of all time. And I hope I've done my part in expressing that to you while you've been with me today watching this video. However, there are some things that I find so bad about this game that knock it a few points and does not give it the 10 for 10 that it should be. One of those things, in fact, the biggest thing, is the final boss battle in this game. The final boss battle in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice does not feel like a victory. It does not feel like a win. It doesn't feel like a top to a masterpiece of a video game. To summarize it in one word, it's overpowered. It's overhyped. It's overpowered. It does not feel like the end of a video game. This is the only boss in the entire game that you feel is out of place, is overpowered. I feel like they just tried to make a boss battle as hard as possible rather than making it as relevant to the story. Fighting your father was really hard. It took you a long time, but every single time you played and every single time you died, you got a little bit better each time. With these final bosses, you never get that feeling. It truly feels like you either get lucky or you don't. And for me, I couldn't even finish the game on my stream because it took so long. I had to end it, turn off everything, grind for several more hours, practice, and then come back and fight them. And I feel if you have to do that with a main story boss, I feel like you failed. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is one of the best games of all time. I can only think of one game that I've played that has been better than Sekiro. For the first 25 hours of this game, it is nothing short of a masterpiece perfection. Unfortunately, for the last few hours, I feel like it's a little bit of a repeat where you just do the same things over and over. If this game stopped with the fight of your father, the experience of this game would be a 10 out of 10 across the board, and it will go down forever as the best game. I give this game a 9 out of 10, making it Scary Harry certified. Hey everybody, Scary Harry 22 here. I want to take a few minutes just to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it in the slightest, please consider liking and subscribing. This is the kind of content I truly believe I was meant to make, but I can only improve with constructive criticism and feedback from you guys. So please make sure to let me know in the comments or go one step further and join the Discord and give me some feedback there. If you're interested in any of my socials, you can read them down below, along with the links to the videos I mentioned in this video. My name is Harrison. You can call me Scary Harry 22 or Harrison. I'll see you guys in the next video.